looks like we are live. Trying a little experiment today. I'm a little lonely here in the studio, so I brought along a friend. I'm not going to say her name because it will make her excited, but she's right here beside me right now sleeping, so let's see how this goes. You see her tail wags every time I look at her. She knows. She's very in sync with me. So hopefully she'll remain quiet for the class. We'll see. She may be a little distracting. So today we're going to do sitting with fear. So most of the practice is just going to be like sitting with emotion, sitting with fear. I'm going to talk you through, it's going to be very meditative. I do suggest getting a chair or some pillows or something to put your feet up on. We're going to start with our feet up on a chair. So come on down to your back. And I suggest putting your feet up on a chair. So laying down, legs on a chair, finding blankets. Oh, she's going to come by me. On your bed. Sitting down, laying down on your chair, laying down on your back. Legs on a chair. Just start to connect with arriving in the moment. Land on the ground. Feel your back on the ground. Start to connect with your feet a little higher than your heart. Maybe letting the blood come down to your heart a little easier. Starting to be in the moment. So what does in the moment mean? It means letting go of that little voice that's talking about yesterday and the one that's talking about things that have yet to come. Letting go of those voices and landing on the mat. So landing on the mat, you can talk yourself through it. You can say, my hips are on the mat, my head is on the mat. I can feel these parts of my body. Taking time to feel, be in the physical body. Feel what you can feel. Start to really connect with physical sensation. And then start to find the breath in the body. Maybe even bringing your hands just underneath your rib cage and really finding the breath. Yoga is about self-inquiry. So what happens when you bring your focus to your breath? And there are no right or wrong answers, just what? Notice, observe, find, get to know yourself. Do you start to feel tight in your chest? Do you start to draw your breath in even more slow with a little muscular force? Just noticing what happens when you try to focus on your breath. Do you focus on your breath and have your mind running 1,000 miles a minute trying to say, why is she talking about breath? I'm so sick of breath. I'm so bored. Whatever the little words in your head might be, notice. And just start to land. Perhaps you can begin to notice that each breath is a little bit different. Some are longer than others. And there seems to be a common misconception that being a good yogi or a good person is to not experience negative emotions, to avoid all negative emotions and negative experiences at all costs, to constantly be all sunshine and roses. But it's more about self-inquiry, and you get to know these emotions, get to find these emotions, get to observe what goes on in your own physical and emotional state when you have these emotions, so that you can be less controlled by them. You can begin to make your decisions knowing they're there without being controlled by them. Just the same as we get to know the thoughts in our head so that we know what they do. We're familiar with them, and we're not just controlled by them, controlled by the swirl, controlled by the chaos. So begin to inquire what you are feeling emotionally today. Perhaps just ask yourself what you're feeling right now in this present moment, what generally is going on. And then perhaps broaden your perspective and notice what emotionally you're feeling in the broader perspective of your life. So your day-to-day life, this moment. Maybe there's a little bit of fear, nervousness, perhaps a little anxiety of the uncertainty of our world right now. Things are being turned around, flipped upside down. A lot of things have changed in a very rapid succession, and this can bring the fear of the unknown really to the surface. And it's not that we want to push that away. We're going to sit with it. We're going to acknowledge it, acknowledge how it feels, so we know what it is. And start to notice your breath when you're thinking about how you feel. Maybe you just feel great today, and that's also possible. What happens in your physical body? What happens in your breath? Where might you bring up tension when you start to focus on your emotional state? So typically our emotions have a physical presence in our body. And it can be a little bit different for everyone. We get to know ourselves. We get to know where we hold our tension, where we grip and we fight the emotions. Sometimes it's in the hips. Sometimes it's in the torso. Sometimes it's in the neck and the shoulders. So when you start to think about your emotional state, just really check in on the physical body and notice any places that seem to be starting to grip and seize and tighten. Maybe wiggle the toes and make sure your feet are soft. Notice the hands. Maybe give the hands a wiggle, the fingers a wiggle. Let the gripping go in your hands. And if you're gripping around your breath, maybe really placing your hands and focusing on the warmth of your hands just underneath your rib cage. Still not forcing our breath. And there are a lot of practices, a lot of breath practices where we force our breath in certain ways for certain reasons. But right now, just trying to sit with our breath in our body as it moves naturally, allowing it to do what the breath wants to do in the body. Trusting in the body's natural instinct. And as we sit with how we feel, perhaps we can notice that maybe we feel more than one emotion. Notice what the mind wants to do when the emotions are present and when we're focusing on the presence of emotions. Does the mind want to answer questions and fill in the gaps, label the emotion, maybe give it a story, give it a reason? And can you gently move away from the thoughts, move away from the controlling desires of the mind, and just move back to the physical sensation of emotion? Emotions don't need to be explained. They don't absolutely have to have a purpose. They don't have to have a reason. Perhaps taking a few breaths to say to yourself, I am free to feel my emotions. I am free to feel my emotions. And if they begin to be too swirling and too overwhelming, return to your grounding points. Return to physically noting which parts of your body are touching support, physically finding sensation, moving away from the swirling thoughts, finding physical sensation. Feel the head on the ground, feel the shoulders on the ground, feel the hips on the ground. And gently just return, check in. And then we'll slowly work through some simple exercises to just release tension and common parts that we hold stress. This is just a soft releasing class. We're not doing a lot of muscling work and building strength. We're just looking to find places where we commonly hold stress and tension in the body. And maybe move it around, shift it around, maybe not, maybe just get to know it, find it. Sometimes when we just let the brain know where the tension is, the brain, when we're not paying attention, can get to work on letting it go. So just starting to connect, we're going to pull our toes towards our shins and then point them away. Starting to connect with the muscles in our feet, so pulling the feet tight, pulling the toes towards the shins, pushing them tight away, pointing. Almost as if we're trying to find all the muscles that make our feet move and we're trying to connect with them. Notice perhaps the muscles in the legs firing up. And then point the toes and turn the toes out. And then bring the toes in. So really just moving through the foot, trying to keep the legs still, but just moving through the foot below the ankle, finding all those muscles, moving slow. So finding the muscles, finding mind-body connection. Moving your feet nice and slow, and always checking in, looking for compensation patterns. So when you start to move, when you start to restrict movement and just think about movement in one place, do you start gripping in another place? Maybe your low back, maybe your face is starting to grip, maybe across the chest. What are your hands doing? And then bring the toes up towards the shins, point the toes towards each other, and then point the toes out. So flexing the feet, toes in, toes out. Nice and slow. Maybe even connecting your movement with your breath. Making it as slow and gentle and soft as you can, but finding engagement in your feet. And then let that go. Maybe take a little wiggle of the legs, really loosening and softening. Leaving your left foot on the chair. If you're not using a chair, just on the ground. Take your right foot up. Look at the right foot and start to straighten up the right leg. So starting to find the muscles at the back of the leg. And you can move your foot. You can move your leg. Watch what happens when you start to think about the back of the leg. Do you start to compete with yourself? Do you start to remember a goal you have of getting your splits? Do you start to pull the right hip up so you can get a little further? Just notice. There are no right or wrongs to any of that. Just noticing and knowing yourself, knowing you have a goal, knowing you want to get your splits. There's nothing wrong with that. Just getting to know what you're doing, moving the leg around, starting to find the back of the leg. And then bring the knee in towards the chest. And we're going to take little slow circles, small circles with the knee. So we're really thinking about the hip here, trying to keep the hips grounded, but letting the leg move in the hip socket. And then reverse your circle. And bring the right leg back to the chair. Take a little reset. And take the left leg up. And start to find the back of the leg. I'm really feeling the muscles in the back of the leg. And noticing maybe some differences left to right. I'm bending the knee and taking some circles. I don't know if you can hear it, but my little friend next to me is snoring. Take your circles in the other direction. And she blinks as soon as I talk about her. And then bring that back up. Take the right leg and cross it over the left. Bring the knees in towards the chest and maybe starting to feel the piriformis area on the other side. So just starting to breathe into this space. Move the feet. You can hug the legs a little closer. Notice if you have any gripping here. Our glute area is one of our fight or flight areas. So they're the first muscles that fire up and get moving, get ready to run and flee. So notice if you're tight here. Imagine sending your breath here as if you could breathe fresh air right down into the hip area, into the glute area. And then with the exhale, you're sweeping away things no longer needed. If you're more visual, you can imagine a little ball of warm or cooling energy right here. Give it a color, give it a texture. And then slowly unravel. Take left knee over right. And bring the knees in towards the chest and connect with left glute area. And breathe. Experiment with a little movement here. You can wiggle the feet. You can move the legs around nice and soft. Just be gentle with the body. And then unravel. Bring both knees in. Give yourself a little hug. And you can return the feet to the ground or back to the chair. Let the hips settle into the ground, and we're going to think about upper body. So take your arms even with the shoulders, palms up. Try to allow the shoulders to really soften into the ground. So really connect with any gripping you may have, maybe around the neck, maybe around the chest. Maybe you have some gripping in the back. Notice. Bringing the palms face up, let the shoulders rest. And then we're going to fire up the muscles. So we're going to push the back of our hands into the ground, fire up the muscles of the arms and shoulders, and let go. Press, and then let go. Soft and slow, just connecting with our muscles. Notice any compensation patterns you may have when you start to fire up the arms and the chest. Maybe the low back starting to do some work. And try to keep this all in the upper body, checking on the face. And then flip the palms, press the palms down into the ground. Maybe adjust your arms a little. And then press the palms into the ground. Notice which muscles fire up and then let go. Press, and then let go. And then let the arms soften. Notice what's going on in the low body. Make sure you're still soft in the low body. Take the right arm up to the ceiling. Push the right arm, lift the shoulder up off the ground. And then let it drop. And then lift it up and let it drop. Trying to get little soft wiggles in the shoulder. Activating the muscles, then letting them go. Lifting up and then letting go suddenly. And then take the right hand all the way over to the left. Nice and slow. And then reach a little over to the left. Allow your body to twist and turn a little and then open up. Inhale as you open up. Exhale as you bring the hand back over towards the left. Let your head roll across the ground however it wants to roll. So take the tension out of the neck. We're just working through the shoulder and the upper back. Let the hips kind of move as they're going to move, but don't make the movement come from the hips. We're working through shoulder and upper back. Don't force, don't grip. We're not looking for strength. We're just looking to open, move, and locate where we're holding our tension. Bringing the arms back, shoulder height, body neutral. Take some wiggles. And then take the left arm up to the ceiling. Reach really, really, really long. Lift that left shoulder up off the ground. And then let it plop. And then lift and plop. A couple of times, just trying to get that shoulder to soften and loosen. Let go. I moved my clock. I can't see my clock. And then take the left hand all the way slowly over towards the right. And then all the way out. Open. Inhale as you open. Exhale as you fold over. Inhale, open. Exhale, fold. Nice and slow. Letting your head roll on the ground. Letting your hips roll on the ground. Take the tension out of your face. Soften through the breath. Allow space in your torso for your breath to arrive. And then land open, back on the ground, arms down. Take any wiggles and adjustments. And notice your shoulders. Notice if there's still any gripping. Notice if they're a little softer. And then bring your knees in towards the chest and roll on over to a side. Come on up to a seat. So feel free to use the chair for your seat. I can't use the chair today because my little friend would want to sit on my knee. So come on up to a seat, comfortable seat. No prizes for sitting perfectly cross-legged. Find a comfortable seat. And just start to land in your seat. Notice what is going on from the hips to the crown of the head. Find your breath. I'm going to see if I can pull off finding my cushion without disturbing her. So find your breath. Notice what's going on in the spine. So feel your hips supported. And then notice what happens when you sit. Notice the low back. Notice the stomach. Notice the shoulders. Notice the neck. And then we're going to move on to a breath practice. So get supported. You can use blocks to help support your shoulders. So you can place blocks on your thighs and have your arms rest on the blocks. So it kind of takes the weight of your arms onto the blocks, and it kind of takes the pressure off your shoulders to engage and make sure your arms aren't falling around in space. Notice how that feels. Try to soften through the shoulders as much as possible. And then we're going to practice imagining our breath moving in a certain way. And whatever helps you imagine this. So you can give your breath a color, you can give it a temperature, a texture. You can simply just connect to breathing in and imagining this pathway and trying to imagine feeling sensation in the areas that we're trying to draw our attention to. So we're going to imagine we could breathe in through the crown of our head. We're going to breathe in through the crown of our head, through our brain and down our spine to our tailbone. And we're going to go all the way back up the same path. So breathing in through the crown of your head. Imagine there's a tube right down your spine. You're going to breathe in, and then as you breathe out, you're going to breathe out, up through the spine. So imagine not that you're forcing this breath with muscles. Imagine that you're bringing this breath in and it's drawing in fresh energy all the way through the brain, down the spine. And as you exhale, you're sweeping away things no longer needed. Maybe you're sweeping away holding patterns, tension, gripping of muscles, scars and memories. Breathing in fresh, drawing in what you need, and then breathing out what you no longer need. Inhale, fresh. Exhale, release. And imagine with each breath, you're slowly getting a little more space between each vertebrae. Your shoulders, your head are becoming lighter. Your spine is feeling less and less stress, carrying your head above your shoulders. Drawing in fresh and sweeping away things no longer needed. Noticing if the cognitive head wants to step in and tell you what you need to release. Maybe you have some memories that you're particularly focusing on that you want to release. And try to soften out of that cognitive head and just return to imagining your pathway. Inhale through the crown of the head, all the way down to the tailbone, and exhale back out. And if you're getting comfortable with this breath pattern, begin to add muscular focus. So as you breathe in all the way down to your tailbone, imagine that your entire torso, connect with your entire torso, make everything as soft, soft, soft as possible. And then as you breathe out, just a little gentle engagement of muscular action from the tailbone up. So imagine you could find all the muscles around the spine. And you're just going to give a little gentle assist with the muscles. So as you're breathing in, everything is getting soft. And as you're breathing out, you're just giving a little muscular assist and maybe getting a little bit more length in the spine. Inhale, soft. Exhale, grow, grow, grow. Just a little tiny soft amount, not force. Inhale, soft. And exhale, little tiny muscular action. Notice a couple of things about yourself. Is it easy for you to turn the muscles off completely? Is it hard? Is it easy for you to connect with the muscles from the base of the spine and around the spine, your stomach muscles? Or is it difficult? Just notice. There are no right or wrong answers. We're just checking in and seeing it. Everyone is different, and some days are different than other days. Can you completely soften all the muscles in the torso? Maybe even remembering to soften the glutes, the legs. And then suddenly let go of all focus on your breath and land in the body. Just land wherever your body is calling your attention. What is calling your attention? What are you noticing right now? And then we'll work through the neck and shoulders a little. So a little bit more gentle engagement. And then we're going to return to that breath back in our original position that we started in. So a little bit of repetition, a little bit of familiar throughout the practice. So we're going to start to just wiggle the shoulders, one up at a time, starting to move through range of motion in our shoulders. Notice how they feel. And then we're going to bring the shoulder blades and pinch them back together in towards each other in our back. Pinch, pinch, pinch. So squeeze them together. Notice what happens in the lower back. Notice what happens in the neck. Squeeze, 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 and then draw your shoulder blades up towards your ears while still squeezing. Notice if this is easy or hard. Notice if this feels a little familiar. Some of us have this as a holding pattern, not quite this exaggerated, but we pinch a little in between the shoulder blades. It's a common place to pinch. So then bring the shoulder blades down while still squeezing. And then bring them up. And then this time, we're going to take a deep breath in and suddenly let the shoulders flop. Exhale, flop. Let the shoulders soften and notice. And then think about the neck. So we're going to really start to connect with the neck. Maybe imagine we have a little string on our head and we're going to pull ourselves a little taller. And we're going to think about all the ways our neck can move and just start to connect with the muscles. So bringing our chin down towards our chest, feeling the muscles in the back of the neck. Notice where your chin stops. Notice what's holding it there. And then take your chin all the way to the ceiling. Maybe pull your jaw, your bottom jaw up, rather than letting your skull just flop backwards. Pull your jaw up and feel the muscles at the front of the neck. And then bring your head back to neutral. Take your right ear to your right shoulder. And then move your chin, nice and slow and gentle and careful. Feeling the muscles on the left side of the neck. Just moving your chin around, seeing how you feel. What is holding? What is gripping in your neck? Notice. And then bring your ear back to neutral and take your ear over to the left side. Connect with the right side of the neck. And then take your chin in small movements. And then bring your chin back to neutral. Turn your chin to the right. And again, take your chin in small movements, tiny movements, just exploring the neck. Back through neutral, turn your chin to the left, small, tiny movements. Back to neutral. We're gonna hold a block. If you don't have a block, just imagine you're holding a block. So we connected with all the muscles of our neck. Now we're gonna hold the block and do some of those movements again, only engaging around the shoulders. So squeeze the block. If you don't have it, just imagine you're squeezing it. Start to have strong arms, strong chest. Squeeze, hold, take your chin down towards your chest. Pookie, come here, honey. Squeezing the block while you hold your chin down. Take your chin all the way up, squeezing the block. Take your chin to neutral, ear to shoulder. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Back through center. Squeeze and over to the other side. Bring it back to neutral. Turn chin to the shoulder. Still squeezing. Back through neutral. Notice if the block is getting heavier, go back to the other side. Back to neutral. And we're going to squeeze the block and lift the block up. Still squeezing, still squeezing. Squeeze the block and bring the block down. Watch for those compensation patterns in the low back. Try to keep this in the upper body. And if the back is doing too much work and is gripping, pull the stomach in a little more and try to take a little of the work into the stomach. Bring the arms down nice and slow. Bring them up to shoulder height. Take them across towards the left knee. So a little twist while squeezing, 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 and then push away. Bring it back slowly to neutral. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Take it past the right knee. Squeeze and push away. And just any creaks or clicks or things that happen. My back, just pop back in, squeeze, and then let the block go. Take some flicks of the arms. Let go, loosen and soften, like really wiggle the arms out. Jabba, come here, honey. Jabba, come. You forgot I was here. Come here. On your bed. Take some flicks on your bed. Good. Bring your hands to heart center. Soften. And then we're going to do that same thing again, only this time maybe noticing some differences. So bring your chin back down to your chest. Maybe you have a little more range of motion. Maybe you have a little less gripping. Maybe not. And bring your chin up to the ceiling. Back to neutral, ear to shoulder. Back to neutral, ear to other shoulder. Back to neutral, turn. Back to neutral and turn the other way. Back to neutral. We're going to work on upper body, upper back. So take right hand across to left shoulder, left hand across to right shoulder. Trying to move from the rib cage up. So we're just trying to find range of motion in that upper back space. Can do all kinds of movements, but it's not as freely moving as some of the other parts of the spine. We're just trying to connect with it. So we're going to hold on to our shoulders, not grip, just gentle. And we're going to bring our elbows down, hollow out the belly. Bring our elbows down towards our knees and hollow out the belly. And then we're just going to take a little soft circle. Slow, as if we're trying to find all the ways that our spine, our upper spine can move, and our shoulders. And then back the other way. Trying to make this movement really focused in the upper back and not worrying about the skull. Go back to neutral, and then just switch the cross of your arms. So switch right hand to left shoulder, left hand to right shoulder. The other arm is on top. So bringing the stomach back, bringing the arms down towards the knee, elbows down towards the knee, and then nice soft circle, slow as you can. Just trying to find all the ways your spine can move. Puggy, come here, honey. And then back the other way, come here. Jabba. And then back to neutral, come on. Take circles with your shoulders. Sit down, baby. Bring your shoulders all the way in towards each other, maybe a little hollow out of the belly, and then all the way back, shoulder blades squeeze. All the way in, all the way back, shoulder blades squeeze. And then get tall in the spine, neutral position. Hands can be wherever they're comfortable, maybe on your dog who's getting a little restless. We're going to think about moving from the rib cage. So we're going to take a little soft spiral, soft, just slow. As if we're just kind of experimenting and finding all the ways our spine can move. Go the other way. Nice, slow, soft breath. And if you notice that you start to take your spirals mostly from the hip or the lower back, bring your hands to your rib cage area so that you remember to take this from this space, from the lower, with the mid-core. And then we're going to take little side to sides, rainbows. So inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, over to one side. Inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, over to the other side. No need to touch the ground. We're just moving through the rib cage and a little side to side. Inhale up. Exhale, over. We're not worrying about a goal. So there's no goal to get a certain position over to the side, get crunched up as much as possible. We're just experiencing inhale up, exhale, stretching, moving. Inhale up, exhale, lengthening. Inhale up, exhale, rainbow shape. Inhale up, exhale, bring your hands down softly, like your wrists are taking little circles, little soft circles, nice and slow. And land your hands on your lap. Take some wiggles at the shoulders, some wiggles at the torso, letting go. And notice what's different, what's not, what's still here, what's present. Maybe even closing your eyes to help you bring your focus internally. What's going on in the breath? What's going on in the thoughts? Notice. And then we're going to return to where we started. So come on down to your back. Taking your time to get set up, maybe having a blanket handy, maybe getting ready to really rest in Jabba. Come here, baby. So we're turning to your back, landing on your back, taking some wiggles, finding your hips on the ground and actually finding physical sensation. What does it feel like where your hips are touching the ground? What does it feel like where rib cage is touching the ground? What can you feel where your shoulders are? Maybe they're still gripping and lifting. Notice. Maybe you need to adjust where your hands are. Finding the position where your shoulders are most comfortable. Finding the position where your hips are most comfortable. Java, come here. She's waiting up at the door. She saw my son. Starting to find your breath. Maybe even taking a couple of breaths in deep and sighing out of the mouth. Inhale deep. Exhale. Letting go, sighing out. And then just noticing how you feel. Inhaling in and sighing out is kind of one of the body's natural responses to just kind of getting rid of some stuff. Maybe there's some excess energy in here and we just want to let it go. We have a little of that frustration milling up. Often we sigh. So let it come out. Let that energy out and notice how you feel. Allow your hands to be wherever they're comfortable. Or maybe if it helps, bringing your hands to your torso just so you can focus on your breath and keep your focus here. We're going to return to that same breath, breathing in through the crown of our head, all the way down our spine, and then breathing back out through our spine, out through the crown of our head. Beginning just getting the breath pattern, and if it helps, really, if it helps bring your focus, you can imagine a color moving up and down. You can imagine a temperature moving up and down. You can give a ball of energy, something visual, maybe a river moving up and then moving down, maybe a wave. Starting to connect whatever works for you. Breathing in through the crown of the head all the way down to the tailbone, and then breathing all the way back up through the crown of the head. And then start to see if you can bring in that little tiny bit of a muscular tension. Breathing in, can you loosen and soften everything in the body? And then as you breathe out, just a tiny, tiny bit of attention to muscular action, following your breath back up your spine. Starting at the tailbone and then working your way back up. Breathing in, everything softens. Breathing out, just a little assist for with muscles for the breath. Really focusing in on the breath. Noticing if it's hard to retain your focus on the breath. And then take a deep breath in, and with the exhale, just let your focus land somewhere in the body. Maybe there's a place in your body where your attention is really drawn to. Just let it land there. And notice what is going on here.
If you're drawn to maybe some aches and pains or something physical that's going on, imagine just sending a little ball of fresh energy right to that exact location. So now you're breathing in to that location, imagining healing breath, fresh breath going right to that position. And then exhale, sweeping away maybe some of the tension, some of the gripping in that space. Inhale fresh, and exhale, sweep away.
And then beginning at the toes, begin to take little check-ins for gripping. Starting to release and soften, as if giving your muscles the permission to let go. And as you're trying to soften and let go, it can be very helpful to say to yourself, right here in this moment, all of my needs are met. I can soften, I can let go. I can give my body some space, some time to rest, to truly rest. And then for today's reading, as you're starting to really go into your resting pose, if you want to tune me out, go ahead, tune me out. You don't have to listen if you're in a great space. You don't have to listen, but I am going to read from Pixie Lighthouse. It's one of my favorite go-to books. She writes these prayers of honoring, and they're pretty amazing. So I am reading today about honoring fear, and her writing is microscopic, so I need my glasses. Thank you for this day of acknowledging the nature of what is prompting me to flee. My fears are stopping me, keeping me small and hidden in a corner. Stand me up and set me free from the tiny room of shadows in which my voice wavers and my shoulders shudder. Help me call them out and name them, beckon them forward so I may face them. Be my strength when I order them to back down. Help me relocate them out of power. When my throat locks up and silence is thick on my tongue, coat it with your bright blue light of courage. Arm me with a sword of light to slice through the illusions that I have too long believed about myself. Train me to dodge their advances with mastery of spiritual aikido and deflect them with cuffs of gold. Train me for the familiar battle with my worries, troubles, imprints, and memories. Guide me smoothly through the challenges and anxieties of the unknown. Redefine my relationship to uncertainty. Light up the room with a shining white glimpse of life on the other side of these consuming and sometimes irrational discouragements. Remind me that few of my fears actually come true, and even if a few did, it does not mean they always will. Equip me not for the worst that can happen, but suit me up with determination to take all things into consideration with a reasonable and quiet mind before shrinking back reflexively. Give me pause to reflect before reacting. Let me listen with the heart of a loving parent to the part that is afraid to cross the shaky bridge. Let me not be daunted by the devouring sensation of fright, but instead thank it audibly for its warning, and attempt to protect me from harm. Let me learn a new way to console my fears and talk myself through the process. demonstrate how I might gently dismantle terror and soothe my uneasiness with the wisdom of what I know to be true. Let my voice feel the fright and speak anyway. It's okay if it trembles. It will not always be this way if I practice. Help me to understand what it is like to be free and take measured steps to get there. Fill my lungs with assurance and hope. So taking your time in your resting pose, maybe taking as little more time to honor your feelings, to let go, to release. Taking as much time as you need, maybe turning off the alarm clock, maybe turning off the time, and giving yourself some permission to just let go for a little period of time. If you absolutely have to end at 60 minutes, we're really coming up on that time. So begin to take some gentle movements. Connect with your feet, connect with your hands, maybe connect with the air, connect with the temperature in the room. If your eyes were closed, maybe slowly blinking them open as if you're peeking out. Not really sure what you're going to see. Give your eyes time to warm back up into the room. Make your way to a fetal position, curling up in a ball on whatever side is calling to you. And taking time to connect to this pose. It's time that we take to connect within to our central bliss layer, the truest part of ourself, the part that's unaffected by our thoughts and our feelings and our physical self and all the layers that we gather as we move through life, the mother, daughter, father, brother, sister, accountant, the jobs, all these layers that we place. The layer inside the bliss layer is the layer, our soul, our spark of life. And it's there to guide us and keep us strong. So taking some time to connect within to that. Imagining peeling off all the layers of time and experience and self-judgment. And just connecting in as if recharging. Reminding ourselves who we are. And finding that center of unconditional love. And then end your practice coming to a seated position with your hands at prayer and heart space. Connecting with this gesture of bringing our left and right sides to meet in front of our heart. Gesture of accepting ourselves as whole and complete, precisely as we are. And I invite you to take a moment to focus in on this heart center space and say to yourself, you are worthy of love. You are worthy of kindness. You are worthy of patience. May we all know that we are worthy of love, kindness, and patience. May we all feel a little community and love and kindness throughout the rest of our day. Thank you for joining us. Joker, you traitor. Come here. Come here. Come here. What the heck? You left me for Zach.